Good morning live here at WCLU Radio. James Coates with you, back in the saddle, and we are so honored today to have an American troubadour, he's been called. Billy Dean joins us this morning, and Billy, welcome to the show this morning.
Thank you, James. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. We've been looking forward to this for a few days now. And Billy Dean, of course, has performed and toured with some of the industry's biggest country music stars, including the Judds and Kenny Rogers and Clint Black and Alan Jackson, Wynonna Judd, and many, many others, too. So what does that, that's a pretty good resume right there, Billy.
Man, let me tell you, I love being an opening act, man. I always said, first on, first home. But you only get to play these nice big arenas. I opened for Reba. Yeah, me and Alan, when he had "Don't Rock the Jukebox," we did a year together. Me and Clint Black, Little Tex, we did a year together. And one of the first things you do, I think, when you get a hit record or two, you start looking and seeking out your heroes, like Merle Haggard and Kenny Rogers, Johnny Cash, people like that. That because you feel like now you're welcomed into the family. You're in the club, and so that was some of the very first things I did was get a chance to work with some of my heroes, and then some of my contemporaries like Alan, and we had some really good times on the road, man. And Wynonna, same thing. And I've had a lot of time to look back and think on it, and to see the 90s making this comeback. I moved to Florida. That's my home state.
Right.
And kind of take it easy, spend some time with family and high school buddies and people that I, hadn't seen and been around for 30, 40 years, and then the 90s started making a comeback among the, 20 to 30-something-year-old crowd. I was really glad to see that. It put us back in demand again. And we're coming up to the men up there in Kentucky, and we're going to give you 90 minutes of 90s country music.
Oh, boy.
And some of the funny stories behind the hits.
Well, you're called a modern-day American troubadour, so apparently you have some stories to share with your audience.
I do. The older I get, the more I think about what do I want to be when I grow up.
I think you found it.
Storytelling is it for me, because I found that the older you get, the more layers of a story you can add. You know?
Right.
And so I love doing that. And Kenny Rogers told me one time, he said, it's really more important what you do in between the songs that you sing, how you set them up, how you tell your story, give them backgrounds. And he loved comedy, and I love comedy. And so we try to make it kind of fun and funny, too, at the same time.
That's some good advice there from a legend, Kenny Rogers, the late, great Kenny Rogers. But we're so glad to have you on the show this morning. So you are coming to the Mint at Kentucky Downs Friday night. That's this Friday night, the 16th. The doors open at 7 o'clock there at the Mint Gaming Hall in Franklin. Is this your first time to Franklin?
I think it is. It was definitely first time Mint. I've been around the Franklin, Kentucky area, but it's been a while. It's been a while. So I'm looking for, here's the thing, man. When you play Kentucky and Tennessee, man, you're talking about you got to bring your A game, because these people are used to hearing great music. I mean, being down here in Florida, I realized how spoiled I was musically, being around Kentucky and the Tennessee border, the great bluegrassers, the great pickers, the great musical talent that comes from that area. So I got my work cut out for me.
Yes, you do, but I think you'll do okay. More than okay. So how did you get started, real quick, if you don't mind me asking? How did you get your break? I know you probably grew up in a musical home, but how did you get that break?
The most important thing that I think I ever did, like about the 10th or 11th grade, I guess it was probably about 17, 18 years old, is I knew what I wanted to do for a living. And I also knew I had no financial way or means out of my small hometown. It's built around agriculture. You grow up, you drive a tractor, you're a mechanic, you're a hardware, that's just what you do. Mm-hmm. But the upside of that job is you had your weekends to go to the beach because you lived in Florida. That was always a good one,
Mm-hmm.
And so my dad was what my dad was a World War II veteran, and music was his medicine. He had a band my whole life when I was growing up, and I was around, drums and bass and amplifiers, and just really, they were really good musicians, and we were very fortunate in this area to have a lot of really great local musicians.
That's wonderful.
And so what I knew what I wanted to do, but I had no means of doing it. And I entered into some talent contests, but I went to some local farmers and I asked for help. I had a contest and I won. The finals were up in Nashville, and I didn't even have the money to get to Nashville to do the contest. And a lot of local farmers put together a little kitty of money and kind of like a scholarship, and gave it to me so that I could get to Nashville and get an apartment.
Isn't that something?
It was really my hometown A, I knew what I wanted to do. B, I was willing to ask for help, and C, the help was there.
And it sounded like you were sure loved at home.
I just did a show last night in my hometown area.
Oh, wow.
And we've sold it out 3 years in a row, and I had a lot of those local musicians join me last night. It was really a memorable night.
Yeah, I can imagine. We're so glad to have you on with us this morning. So if there's people listening or this morning to Good Morning Live, what are your shows like? What can people expect when what will they see and hear when they come to see you?
Well, I try to never leave a venue without playing a song that people specifically come there to hear. I don't like to go to shows, especially older artists who are like me, recording new music, and sometimes they want to do a whole concert of their new music and not the old music. I play the old music because when I go to a concert, I want to hear the old hits. I just do.
Me too.
And I'm proud of my body of work, and it doesn't get old playing those. I'll throw a new one in every now and then, but for the most part, I like to play the songs people come to hear. I like to tell them stories they didn't know about of how it came to be, those songs. And then sometimes I'll play an old 70s cover song that really influenced me, and then I'll go right into one of my hits.
Man, that's great.
Of course, I tell some really funny stories that's happened to me when I was filming a movie with Dolly Parton, and funny stories that's happened to me over the years of being in this business. So I like to make you smile, make you think, make you laugh, and maybe make you tear up a little bit.
Well, it sounds very, very entertaining. Of course, you had big hits like Only Here for a Little While and Somewhere in My Broken Heart, and the one I really like is I Miss Billy the Kid. Those are great tunes.
Oh, yeah, man. I'll tell a little, and I'll go into detail in Franklin, but, I had a lot of songs about childhood innocence, like Let Them Be Little, Billy the Kid, Men Will Be Boys. My first album was called Young Man, and a lot of that had to do with being raised by one of the greatest generations, World War II dad, and I get into some of that in a good way, but it's just a different way that people were raised in those days, and it really influenced the music that I made. When dads like that, it's their duty to try to grow you up as fast as possible. We got to make you a man right now.
13.
It's a dangerous world. It's a dangerous world, man. You don't have time to play baseball. You don't have time to be a kid. This is a dangerous world, and I don't blame him for what he's seen. But I resisted and rebelled against a lot of that, and I spent a lot of time on my bicycle, and that's probably why I have a lot of songs like "Let Them Be Little" and I miss being a Billy the Kid because I had a lot of freedom, when I was a little kid to get the heck out of the house and get on my bicycle, and explore, and it was a safer world back then, and everybody looked after one another in the neighborhood. If I got in trouble, man, I was told on by the neighbors, so it was just a different world, and I miss those days.
Yeah. Well, this morning we're speaking with Billy Dean, country star, who's coming to perform at the Mint, Kentucky Downs, Franklin, Kentucky, on Friday the 16th, 8 p.m. Doors open at 7. You need to get your tickets, and just go to their website there, and you'll see the option to purchase your ticket, but I wouldn't wait too long. Real quick, before I leave you this morning, I hate to put you on the spot, but what is a career highlight for you? Something that that you still think about, just a big moment for you? Or I'm sure there's probably more than one, but could you talk about a career highlight?
There's no question that winning some awards and being nominated among your peers.
Yeah.
We won two ACM awards, and it was like walking on clouds. We won a couple of CMA awards. We were walking on clouds. It was, it was really those being recognized by your peers. And one of the biggest highlights, the NSAI, the National Songwriters Association, voted Somewhere in My Broken Heart as one of their top 50 country songs of the last 50 years or something like that. And
that's really something.
That really meant the world to me. And I would say right up there with that, my home state of Florida inducted me into the Artists Hall of Fame, and my plaque hangs in the capital of Florida right next to the Bellion Brothers and Jimmy Buffett and Tom Petty.
Oh, my goodness.
And, Don Felder, from the Eagles.
Yeah.
They'll just be hanging on that wall, and just that I know my grandkids and, my great-grandkids can always walk by there one day and see their old pop up there. Man, that means a lot.
Hard work pays off and determination pays off. That's what I hear in your story.
Absolutely. Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Well, thank you for joining us this morning. Billy Dean, by interview this morning. I wish you could be here in person, but we'll take a phone interview, absolutely.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
You're coming to the Mint Friday night, the 16th at 8 o'clock p.m. We encourage everybody to get a ticket and get out there to see you. It's been a lot of fun talking to you today, and surely we wish you the very best and safe travels out there.
And thank you, James. And a little tip, y'all. I hear those machines are paying pretty good up there. I'm on my way.
Bring you some quarters.
That's right. Thank you so much, James. It's so good to talk to you and go down memory lane a little bit. I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely.